Doodlebud here. All of these pens have been purchased secondhand, and that's what I'm talking about today. How to buy secondhand pens, used pens, tips and tricks. This is a question I get asked all the time, and this is just some of them, by the way, but all these pens you see here on the desk have all been purchased secondhand. So I'm going to go through, tell you how I have acquired them, places I go, things I look for, so hopefully you can have success if you're looking to buy some secondhand pens. I'll start with this pen here, the Parker 51 Special, because I purchased this pen the best way to purchase any pen for that matter, new or used, which was in person. So this was at a Vancouver Pen Club meeting. There is a member there who loves to find and restore vintage pens. He had quite the assortment, and I saw the Parker 51. I asked him, I was new to fountain pens at that time, what would you say is one of the best pens you have right there? And he talked about the Parker 51s. He had about 3 or 4 for me to try out. I really like the color of this one. Didn't have the gold nib. I tried the ones with the gold nib. But that's the thing, is I got to try it out. I got to look at it. I got to give it a feel and get a taste for the pen overall, try a couple different ones, and then go with the one I like. So if it comes to buying any pen secondhand, like again, any pen for that matter, new as well, the best way to do it is in person, as always. So whether it's at a pen meet, a pen show, if you don't have access to that stuff, even a little better would be something, say, finding one through Facebook Marketplace, where at least you get to meet up with the person and try the pen out, hold it, give it a look, bring a little loop. So if you're going to be buying a pen secondhand, especially from a Facebook Marketplace thing where you don't always quite know, bring a little loop so you can really check things over, especially the nib. If you don't know what a loop is, I'm talking about a jeweler's loop. I went to find mine to show you, but I can't find it. I just moved, so I'm still looking for stuff, but I'll show it on the screen. And the main point there is just give it another little look over. One tip I will give you is just a bit of a mindset. A lot of people instantly think someone's trying to screw you over, and that's why they're trying to sell it. So I would just say, look, instead of going at it and really being pessimistic, try to be a little optimistic, okay? I mean, people buy things and just, for whatever reason, don't like it. We've all bought a pair of jeans or a pair of shoes or any clothing items where look good in the store, you get home, and then you put it on, and you never end up wearing it. That happens with pens as well. This was another pen. This is a Cross Peerless 125. Again, I got to check this out in person at a Vancouver Pen Club meeting. One of the members there bought it. He just got like a super smoking deal on this thing, and he had to pick it up because he thought that's a really good deal. So he bought it, and he figured, worst case, I can always sell it. So he got it, used it for a bit, and he just realized it wasn't his cup of tea. So this was a pen for him. He just didn't really love it. I saw it. I never was even aware of this one. And this caught my eye right away. I really enjoyed it, loved the feel of it. I got to write with it. And I said, you know what, let me sleep on it. No one else is really interested. And then I contacted him the next day. We met up. I picked it up, and I got a smoking deal. He just wanted to break even on it. So he had it for a very, very short time. But again, I just recently moved. I was putting tons of stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I could have got more money for it if I really, really wanted to. I just didn't care. We had to move. Things had to get done. Bunch of stuff we just put for free. Come and get it. And people came and bought stuff and took the free stuff for sure. So it's the same thing can happen with pens as well. Don't always assume there's a defect and they're trying to pull one over on you. Sometimes people just get something and they don't use it. They're not in love with it. And so they go, you know what, I might as well just sell it and maybe I can buy something else. A place I have bought a lot of my secondhand pens is on eBay. Now there's tons of listings on there. Let's just go with this one. Okay, this is an Aurora 88. This is the Mirige. I absolutely love the look of this one. You can't find this anymore. That's another kind of cool thing with secondhand pens, especially if you want to go vintage. Like, you can't buy new vintage pens. They have to all be secondhand. Sometimes you can get new old stock, but you're going to have to buy used. So if you don't have access to the pen you're looking for locally, or you're not going to pen shows, or if you go to a pen show, no one has what you're looking for, it might be a tough to find pen. Usually online is the next way to do it. So eBay is one way. I'm not going to say that's the only way. I'll give you a few other methods. But I always go on there, not always, but sometimes I go on there and I check out if a pen crosses my mind as something that might, tickle my fancy, something I'd like to get my hands on. Usually one of the first places I go to. What I try to do first is set a price in mind I would feel comfortable buying a pen for. Sometimes it's unreasonable. Sometimes if I want to say I want to get this pen for $200, you may never find that pen for $200, but you can go on there, find a bunch, so you sort of get an idea of the price points. And I just like to set sort of a limit for myself because it's easy to bid on things. You get caught up in the bidding and you go over your budget. You got to be very disciplined. Take your time. I lost out on I don't know how many other auctions. This thing took several years to acquire. Tons of searches. Also, you can have alerts on there. You can save your searches to find it. So patience is the key with this type of stuff, whether you're buying in person or online or wherever. You want to find the right pen that you're going to be happy with, because the worst thing is you get it and you realize, I should have got a different size nib. I wanted the long tine nib. It had to be this color. There was other pens that came up that had just the gold cap with the really cool nib, but I wanted the full gold body. So sometimes you just have to let things go, or if there's a cosmetic defect, maybe you get a really good deal at it and you're okay with that defect. But other times, like for this pen, I was not okay with significant defects. So even though they were a better price, I had to let those ones go, and patience finally paid off. It took a long time to get it, but I got the exact pen I was looking for. Another place I'll peruse online is on Instagram. It's called Virtual Pen Show. That's where I got this one here. This is a Pilot Vanishing Point. This was the color I sort of liked. And I looked around. Now, again, they're not outrageously expensive new. You can a lot of times get deals, but I always like a really good deal. So I looked, and this one came up. It didn't take too long to find it. I can't even remember the exact price I got for it, but I got what I felt was a really good price on this one. Purchased the pen, and it was in great condition. It wrote wonderfully. One problem though, it had a medium point nib. So I wrote with it, and I have a video on this, but I really liked the pen, but the medium was just too thick. I thought I would give the medium a try. Again, that's why if you can buy in person, that's sort of the best way to do it. But there wasn't any locally to where I was I could check out in person that people were selling in this exact colorway, so that's always tricky. However, I found a solution to it, and it was essentially all it cost me was shipping. So is finding other folks online. So I did a video, and then we ended up doing a nib swap. So again, through social media, essentially through my channel on this one. Now, if you don't have a YouTube channel, I get it. But you can go on to another place called Pen Swap. That is on Reddit, and I'll peruse there a lot too, where now in this one, you can put some feelers out. Does anyone want to swap out nibs? So I have a medium nib. Do you have a fine nib? Pilot Vanishing Point. It's got the plating on here too. Is anyone not happy or looking to sell? Sometimes people will have an extra nib that they don't use, and all of a sudden now you can just do a direct swap, and that's how I did it on this one. We just swapped across the board. They had a fine, they didn't like it. I had a medium, we didn't like it. Postage, $5. Problem solved. In case you're wondering, did you hear me right? Did I just say I will buy secondhand fountain pens off of Reddit? Yes, I will. There is a fountain pen community on there. It's the fountain pen Reddit. There's also one called Pen Swap. Now, if you're not familiar with Reddit, it could sometimes be the worst of the worst when it comes to social media, just full of misinformation, conspiracy theories, people like just coming up with anything other than a proper answer to a question. But there is a little spot on there called Pen Swap, and for some reason my white balance is going crazy. You can find a lot of postings for really fantastic pens, a place where folks in the fountain pen community feel a little more comfortable dealing with each other. Sometimes folks will just have one pen. Sometimes they'll have a whole sort of clear out. They have 10, 20, 30, 50 pens up for grabs. They're just clearing out a lot of their collection to make room for other stuff. Sometimes they need the cash. Something has come up and it's, they're going to sell some stuff off. People have inherited pens. They have a large selection there, or just whatever. People are want to get rid of some pens. And that way you can learn a little bit more. It's by fountain pen enthusiasts. Again, there's always the chance of someone deceiving you, but they get flushed out pretty quick. Same thing with the Instagram account, the Virtual Pen Show. And so I have bought actually a good number of pens off of those sites. I almost feel a little bit more comfortable going from the Virtual Pen Show on Instagram or the Pen Swap on Reddit, just because you get a chance to interact with folks a little bit more. And the folks there on Reddit, one thing they're very good at is flushing out the fakes really quick and pointing it out. So in that case, it can sort of be a good thing when it comes to buying secondhand pens. I have been a little more adventurous, and that was on the acquisition of my Montblanc 149. There are some other auction sites you can find. I did the same thing. Actually, it's over here on my vintage Pilot Vanishing Point. So you can find auctions different places. Sometimes they're just straight up auction sites. And every now and then you'll find folks that sell fountain pens on their auction sites. So you'll find ones that are all about coins or jewelries or artwork or whatever. You'll find ones that are sort of about pens. Sometimes you'll have ones where it's a large number of lots, and then just a random fountain pen will pop up in it. And you might just be going, wait a second. Is that a Montblanc 149? And you get a good look at it, you get some good pictures, and you realize that's a really good pen. It looks like it's a good condition. Sometimes they can have an error in the listing because they really don't know what they're talking about. Again, that provides a greater risk, so you have to be okay with that. But you can go out on a limb and find yourself a really nice pen for a fraction of the price, sort of something that's kind of squeaked under the radar from the rest of the fountain pen enthusiasts out there. I will put a couple links in the description to some of the other places, like I mentioned, the Pen Swap, the Instagram, but also there's a couple other sites where you can get some pen auctions going on. Again, this is at your own risk, so don't blame me if you go on a site and you buy a pen and it turns out to be fake and somehow that's my fault. No, that's not me, that's you. So those are the places to look for, okay? But then there's what do you look for? Let's talk about that. Some listings are very good at showing you detailed pictures. Other ones are just terrible at that. That can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. It can be a bad thing, obviously, because you can't quite see the details you're looking for. Sometimes it can be a good thing because folks see that listing, they dismiss it and just go on to the next one, and you can get a pen for a really good price. This one was sort of that way. This is a vintage Montblanc Noblesse. The pictures were, I would say, good enough, but they weren't overly clear, and they didn't quite show all the details I wanted. I really wanted to ensure it had both of the emblems. This one is typically always on there, but the back one, just the way it is here on the pen, it pops off. That's fairly common for that to happen. And so they didn't quite show it, but you could just sort of see it at the back. It almost looked like a reflection when they showed the pen, but I could tell just from a glance, I'm like, the logo looks like it's still on there. I was willing to take a risk on that. Sometimes you can contact the seller and they can send you an additional picture. Sometimes they'll update the posting and then all the pictures are updated. But on this particular pen, the pictures were so, and I would really zoom in. I would go on and you would see a picture of the pen. I would go on my phone. Sometimes I'd even download the picture and then I would just zoom in. And sometimes it's blurry, but you can see just enough of what you want to see, especially when it comes to the nib. You'll see ones where you see the nib, but then you zoom in, you realize, oh, that the tipping might be, missing on one end, or it looks like it's out of alignment, or there looks like there's something wrong with it. Don't be afraid to look at those pictures and really take your time zooming in on those, really having a look. And sometimes don't be afraid to ask for additional pictures from the seller. Sometimes you can get those, sometimes you don't. That could be a sign if they don't respond to you or won't give you any additional pictures. Sometimes you just got to walk away. You also have to be prepared that the pen might need some work. So this is a Waterman Carène. This is in a color that's discontinued. The lighting won't quite show it, but it's this beautiful greeny gold type color. Absolutely love it. The pen was in great condition. I thought there must be something going on with this pen because I got it for a good price. When I got the pen, I sort of discovered what it was. This nib was really, really dry. It really did not write well, skipped like crazy, hard started like crazy. And all it came down to, and again, you couldn't see it in the picture, but the tying gap on here was essentially non-existent. Now, I am comfortable tuning and adjusting and even grinding my own nibs. So for me, that wasn't a big deal. I took my time. Again, that's a big one. Take your time, whether you're buying or tuning or adjusting, whatever it is. But I went in here and, got out my little brass shims, opened up the nib a little bit, checked it under my loop, back and forth. And I took the time to get the nib tuned up right where it should be. And it writes wonderfully now. Sometimes people will sell a pen. They might not give you those details that it's not writing quite right. So they'll leave that out of there. You can't always know exactly the truthfulness of all the information that's on there. It's always a little bit of a risk when you buy used. That's why I said in person is the best way. But when you go out on a limb, and this was a tough one to find, I knew that if there's a nib problem, I can most likely fix it. Worst case, I can send it off. So maybe, factor that into your price. That, well, hey, if there is a problem, you're suspect of it, you're going to have to add in some nib work. So add that onto your total acquisition cost, and then, put that into your equation. Doesn't mean you're going to have to do that on every pen, but it's just something to be aware of. And this was a pen here that I did end up sending off for nib work. This is my Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Age. I knew there was nib problems. The seller was very honest, told me it has some baby's bottom, and it probably needs a nibmeister to go at it. I was very new to fountain pens, so I didn't quite know how to do all that stuff. I gave it a try. I got it right and got rid of the baby's bottom, but the flow was still off, and the point on this one was still it was a gusher, way too big for a fine point nib. I was not comfortable grinding this down from whatever tipping size this was writing, like almost like a broad, down to a proper fine, almost extra fine. So on that one, I outsourced that, sent it off to Mark Bacchus. He did his thing. I had to wait. This takes a while. Nibmeisters are busy folks. So be prepared if you get a pen and it's going to get sent off. It's all part of the waiting game and the patience. I assure you, if you get the pen that you absolutely adore, and then you have to get it sent off for a grind, and that takes several months, I assure you that 10 years from now, when you still have that pen and you still love writing with it, you're not going to care about that. Same thing, if you could have got it for $10 less on another, you're not going to care about that 5-10 years from now. That, oh, I wish I got that other pen. I would have saved $10, $20. You really won't care about that. So make it part of the journey, part of the experience. Get the pen you're looking for, have some patience, be okay with the waiting game. This isn't Amazon, right? You don't just order it, shows up the next day. It's going to take a little bit of time, but you can be rewarded greatly for that. And my whole Pelican collection, other than one, which is an M805, which I actually like the least of all my Pelican pens, all my other Pelican pens I bought these all secondhand. My M1000, my 400, another 400, this P361, and my oh so cherished Pelican 140. All of these were bought secondhand. A bunch of them on eBay. Actually, I think all of these ones were on eBay, but I took my time, looked at the pictures. Some of them, like this one here, I chatted with the seller really quick as well. I actually negotiated the price down a touch more. I think I saved an extra $20. Here I was just talking about who cares about the extra 20. Well, but sometimes you can just chat with them. The pen wasn't really moving. It sat there for a few times. Sometimes I'll watch the auction expire. So they list it and it doesn't sell. So sometimes I'll come back at them like, hey, I saw that didn't sell. Would you be okay with such and such price? And if they're a good seller, you'll go back and forth and you can find something you agree with. Also, even just putting it on your watch list, a lot of times you get offers. So this was on my watch list. I was watching quite a few of them. And then all of a sudden the seller, and they send it out to everyone who's watching it, they will offer you 5% off or 10%. It's usually not 10%, but somewhere maybe 5%, $30, whatever the number is. And then you go, hey, you just saved yourself an extra few bucks. Maybe the original price I wasn't happy with, but that extra little bit might be enough. Maybe that covers the shipping or something like that. And yeah, just having stuff on your watch list, you'd be surprised how often a seller puts out an offer to all the people who are watching a pen, and you can save a couple extra bucks that way. And also just a quick reminder that a new pen won't really change your life. At the end of the day, it's just a pen. You can really get caught up in the whole pen acquisition, have to get new stuff all the time. That is a bit of a rabbit hole and downside of the hobby. Some people really get caught up in that. Take time to pause if something takes you a while, and that's part of the process. For me, that's actually the hunt is one of the things that appeals to me the most when it comes to acquiring fountain pens. I think that's why I like rare ones, used ones, vintage ones. Is there will be a certain pen, and I am okay playing the waiting game. If it takes 2 or 3 years, it's not the end of the world, because it doesn't really matter eventually. When that pen shows up, if it's the one that you want and you're going to be having this pen for decades to come, I tell you, whether you got it in 6 days, 6 months, or 6 years, it'll be worth it. We'll leave it there. I hope this helps answer the question. Folks have been asking me a bunch. I get a lot of emails on this, a lot of comments in my videos about this. It's not exactly a straightforward answer. This is the place. The answer is it's everywhere. You just got to sort of look. Oh, one thing I missed out. I didn't mention this because I've never bought a pen this way. Thrift stores. Some folks have had amazing scores on thrift stores. I have looked. I've never found a great deal, so I don't have any pens I bought that way. But I'll see these posts. It happens a lot on Reddit, actually. And someone will all of a sudden show this collection of Pelican pens or Mont Blanc pens or vintage Parkers, like a bunch of them, 10 of them. Maybe they need a little bit of work, but so what? And they just go, I just picked this whole set up for $23. What are these pens? Did I do any good? I don't know what these are. And the viewers on there are just drooling and also have a little bit of hate going on because they're like, how did you get that deal? You don't even know what you got. So you can find amazing deals in thrift stores. I've seen them. I've seen people talk about them. It hasn't worked for me, but it does work for a lot of people. We'll leave it there. Thumbs up, check the description. I'll put information in there below. Drop a comment, subscribe, potentially join. Catch you next time.